probably hold them liable for the full amount. One neat thing about bankruptcy auctions is that you always have the law on your side if you do everything right, and you can tell people, look, you know, somebody writes you a bad check for something, for an item they bought at a bankruptcy auction, that is a big deal. It is a big deal, because you can turn that over to the trustee, and it is not a local matter, it's not a civil matter, it has all of a sudden become a federal matter that they have written a bad check to you. The same thing with refusing to close on the transaction.
Do your buyers understand that and the subject to it might be a little protracted like that?
Yes, we do tell them, we typically tell them, our standard line is it's going to be within 30 days of bankruptcy court approval. What the common question is always, how soon do you anticipate bankruptcy court approval? What I will try to do always is to have, if I know that I'm going to have an auction on a Thursday, I try to have the attorney, I tell him as early on as I can, I try to have the trustee schedule a confirmation hearing for that Friday. Some will, some won't. If he doesn't schedule it for that Friday, because it has to be noticed out, it's a 21-day notice period. If he doesn't schedule it for that Friday, then, or if he doesn't schedule it until after the auction, that hearing is not going to be until at least 21 days following that auction. And then you've got a 30-day closing period after that, or a 45-day closing period after that. If there's any survey expenses, you've incurred all these expenses, and everybody's sitting there waiting to get paid. One thing that Michael talked about, and I'll touch on this a little bit, is the fronting of fees. I cannot think of a single bankruptcy case where I have been paid my advertising money on the front end. Not a single one. I also cannot think of a single bankruptcy case where I have ever lost a dime of money. Now, is it coming? Yeah. Because of the one that we talked about just a few minutes ago with the title issues being on half by the person, if it hadn't closed, I was going to be out a substantial advertising investment. But fortunately it did. Now, like Michael said, the majority of the instructors that you will ever hear teach will tell you to never front your advertising money. But you do what you have to do. All right, I want to spend some time going through some websites and actually looking at some things. And by the way, I got a note handed to me, and I can't remember who gave me this note. Thank you. If y'all want to Google this, this is actually a case where some people have been convicted of bankruptcy fraud. And it was in Minneapolis. The guy's name was Denny, D-E-N-N-Y, Hecker, H-E-C-K-E-R. He was found guilty of transferring assets to his girlfriend, Miss Christie, with an I, Rowan, R-O-W-A-N, and he was actually in jail at the same time he was transferring these assets to her. So, that's something that you can Google. Take a look at. All right, let's go to some websites. All right, trustees. The top website here is just the Department of United States Department of Justice overall website. Let's look down at this, which you can see is an extension of that website. It's the private trustee locator for chapter 12, 7, 12, and 13. See how well this is going to work for us today. All right, right here's the meat if you want to find trustees. You got 7s, 12s, and 13s. Your panel trustees, once again, that's what you're looking for. Here's an entire list, state by state. And I'll just scroll down to Georgia because that's where I'm most familiar with. There's Paul Kane's, he's in Warner Robins, that's real close to Bo's area. Bill Plato's in Macon. Ernie Harris is in Athens. Walter Kelly, a main man, is in Albany. Joy Webster, Bo's done a little bit of work for Joy in the past. These are trustees that are in the Middle District of Georgia. Trustees covering the Northern District of Georgia. Paul Anderson, James Baker, Kyle Cooper, Denise Dotson, Dale Goodman, Neil Gordon, Greg Hayes. I've done work for both of these. Griffin Howell, Jeffrey Kerr, William Lane, Jordan Lupin, Theo Mann, Arthur Miller, Betty Napier. You see how valuable that is? Every one of these people ought to be on your mailing list, on your prospecting list. It's right there in front of you. How many of you have a prospect list that you send all your flyers to? If you're interested in the bankruptcy business, first thing I do when I got home was look at this website and put every one of these people that are in your area on that direct mail list. Fill their mailboxes up with flyers. But there's more there. I mean, there's phone numbers there. There's everything that you possibly can want. Now, remember this website because we're also going to look at how valuable it may be as far as knowing who these people are, knowing what names they are when we look at a couple of other websites. Has anybody got any questions about this? Yes. Take the one in the front, then I'll get you back. Cindy.
Are you gonna, that you're going to, or it's like, what are some hot button words?
Question was, what are some hot button words and some keys that I think need to be included? I was speaking mostly of flyers as you're actually, the auctions that you're doing now, the mailers that you have for them, include them on your mailing list. I'll have to think about it a little bit as far as if I was sending a direct mail piece, actually soliciting some business from them. What's the question in the back?
So I just tapped into 3 of the attorneys in my area, and they all belong to the same law firm.
Uh-huh.
Do you find that to be pretty common?
They're all bankruptcy trustees and they're all in the same law firm? That's the first time I've ever heard of it, but I'm not surprised. I mean, every one of these that I know of are in different firms, but that really doesn't surprise me. I mean, that firm obviously specializes in bankruptcy work. And interestingly, most firms that specialize as the trustees also will do debtor work as well. They will file bankruptcy cases. All right, let's take a look at a couple of the other ones. The National Association of Bankruptcy Trustees is a fee-based organization of which I am not a member. I'm a member of the American Bankruptcy Institute. But both of these associations have trade shows. They have meetings, they have memberships. And right there is the spring seminar. If you're interested in attending some seminars, it's going to be in Santa Monica. Be a nice vacation. There's something right over here that you need to take a look at, and you can actually use this area to solicit for bankruptcy auctions. Did you see what I just did, where I clicked on assets for sale? This is actually a joint site that's administered by the National Association of Bankruptcy Trustees and the American Bankruptcy Institute. It breaks all of the asset categories down by different classes.
Did you get there from the NABT site?
I did.
Okay.
It actually opened a second browser window. On the NABT site, right up in the corner, is assets for sale. Click here.
You have to be a member to get
Now,
that?
you have to be a member to list on it, but you don't have to be a member. You can see right here, to post an asset. The reason I like it is that I can post an asset by being a member of the ABI, which I think is like a $95 a year for an associate membership, which an auctioneer is, and the National Association of Bankruptcy Trustees is more expensive. Let's take a look at one of these. Real estate, commercial. There's 4 commercial vacant land buildings, 1 lease, 3 multi-tenant residential, and other commercial real estate. 1 in Texas and 2 in Florida. Excuse me, 1 in California. This one is actually, when you see that A, it indicates it's being sold at auction. Has the sale date been set? No. Date and asset was posted 3/16/11. Property location, Florida. So see, this hadn't been up there very long. Bankruptcy case name, Prime Homes of Villa Portofino East Commercial Limited. Trustee name. You want to contact this trustee? Click on it. Right there's all their contact information, including their website and email address. Contact name. And here is an attachment, synopsis of the property. It's in Miami-Dade County. Yes. Let's ask the question was, if you, when you contact the trustee, do you contact them by phone or contact them by email? Probably either is gonna have about the same effect, really and truly. If you do it by phone, you're gonna probably get stopped by the gatekeeper. If you do it by email, you know, there's a chance that they may read it, there's a chance that they may delete it. If you add them to an email list, there's a chance that they may report you for spamming them. But I would probably attempt to do both, and maybe hard mail them as well. You know, get them on a list. As I said, there's some agents in our company that have had some real success in finding the trustees and emailing the trustees. There's a lot of information here. You can see everything there is to know about this particular asset. In fact, if somebody went in and booked this auction, probably everything that you would need to know as far as your due diligence is right here. Now there's also probably on here an important piece of information. That's a case number. The case numbers for me are sometimes a lot easier to keep track of than the names. The names are easier to search because you don't have to know the entire name when you start looking at the actual bankruptcy website, which is the PACER website. PACER stands for Public Access to Court Electronic Records. How many people subscribe to PACER? You will want to subscribe to it when we get through with this class today. It is, I think it's $9.95 a month. You know, Ruth, do you remember? Yeah, I think you can either pay by the year, maybe by the quarter, by the month. And there is a billing for each page view. It's 8 cents a page for what you look at. And I think the way they actually bill me is they bill me when they send me a bill when my bill gets to a certain level. I don't even think it's on a monthly basis. I think it's, maybe there's a break point, and I have a credit card on file with them, and they debit that credit card and send me a receipt for the charge.
Public access.
The public is pacer.org, and then pacer.gov, I'm sorry. PACER. And PACER stands for Public Access to Court Electronic Records. We're going to the PACER website in a little while, so just bear with me on that. But on the PACER website, as I was saying, you can actually search the cases by name. Let's take another look at this and see what else we might can find on here. Equipment. And not a whole lot listed under equipment. Inventories. 3 assets under inventories. Vehicles, boats, and aircraft.
There's a neat one under other.
Sir,
There's a neat one under other.
this one,
Little car.
all right, in Illinois, there's a 1941 Ford Deluxe. It's currently consigned at the Bolo Auto Museum in Bolo, Illinois. It's in very nice condition for a rare vehicle. Sale date to be set upon expressions of interest.
Got a neat little HTML there. You go down.
Which one? The main?
One of them says HTML something. I can't see it because I got off of it. But
It's actually the same link, both of them. The HTM.
yeah, it's it. Kind of cool.
So this was posted by the trustee.
This was probably posted by the trustee. Auctioneers can also post in there. Anybody that's a member can post.
But you can't tell.
Yes, yeah, I mean, it shows you who's posting in there. David Leibowitz is the trustee name. The bankruptcy case number is 10-27820. And the bankruptcy case name is Stephen Thomas O'Neill. See, that's the reason, like I said, I was dinged one time in this class for stating names. Oh, you shouldn't tell that, that's private information. But it's not, it's public information. When they file bankruptcy, it's out there for everybody to see, and that's the way that the system keeps records of it, is by the name and by the case number. But I use this site occasionally if my business slows down and I want to start looking out there to see what's going on. This is a good site to look at. Interesting little car. Appraised at $14,995. Could be yours for only $99.98. Yeah. Well, somebody's got to get paid, so. All right, let's go back to our PowerPoint, see what else we got there. We got ABI World, speed-based also. You got a Memphis Consumer Bankruptcy Conference. There's a whole list of the upcoming meetings. 29th American Bankruptcy Institute Spring Meeting coming up next week. 13th Annual New York Bankruptcy Conference, the 10th Annual Litigation Skills Symposium, the Memphis Consumer Bankruptcy Conference, the 18th Annual Central States Bankruptcy Conference Workshop. But if you're interested in going and networking with any of these people, the trustees, the judges, Hannes,
Mark, we're actually, NAA is having a presentation at the national meeting next week. So it's going to be a panel presentation. Darren Mears is actually on it, as well as a couple other people. So, you know, I think hopefully that's going to start trickling to auctioneers, all of that
Right.
information.
did everybody hear what Hannes said? That NAA is actually going to have a presence at the national meeting. And that's the meeting of the National Association of Bankruptcy Trustees, correct?
Correct.
It's in San Diego.
Somewhere.
Is that the one that we saw in that's in Santa Monica?
I can't, maybe you're
Santa
right.
Monica?
Yeah,
David said Santa Monica.
okay.
But there are local and regional meetings as well. I know that there's a Southeastern Bankruptcy Law Institute that meets in Atlanta that we have actually exhibited at. And not only are you networking with trustees and attorneys, but you're also networking with judges. I mean, I have literally been able to talk face-to-face with judges at this. What's the value of talking to the judge? He's not going to give you any cases. He's not going to recommend you. He's not going to refer you. But when you're on the witness stand, he may not chew you up and spit you out. Brownie points is what you're looking for. And it doesn't feel your professionalism if you're at a continuing education conference that he's attending. Because judges rightfully so, sometimes tend to have pretty big egos. And if they see that you're a professional as well, I think that they have more respect for you. And let me tell you something else. Is there a lawyer in the room? Seriously. Is there anyone that will admit that they're a lawyer in the room? You're going to work in the back. Now, that's close.
Should I turn the tape off for a second?
No, no. I mean, because this was the most amazing thing for me to learn. Lawyers are probably the strangest breed that I have ever encountered. Julie, I promise you, they're worse than all. They are amazing to me. They will go into a courtroom, chew each other up, spit each other out, question their lineage. I mean, their mama lives under the porch. I mean, it's just a horrible situation. I mean, just spewing spittle at each other in venom and come out of the courtroom on a lunch break and go to lunch together. I mean, it is amazing to me. And, I mean, literally, when I had told y'all that experience of how I got to work with Walter, I mean, he was chewing me up. I mean, I'm a pretty tough guy, I tend to think, but I mean, I was basically, where am I going? I mean, I thought, I literally went back and told Tommy Rival that I had ruined any chance that we ever have of working for this man. And then he calls and says, hey, you're great, I want you to come and work for us. I mean, it's, you gotta have tough skin. I mean, I was in the bankruptcy court on the case where I told you there was the other family members involved. The attorneys put me on the witness stand. I was on the witness stand about 2 hours. I talked probably about 10 minutes in that 2-hour period. The last 30 minutes, I'm sitting over there like a little church mouse. They're arguing back and forth, and the judge finally looks over at me and says, oh, Mr. Manley, you can step down. I completely forgot you were up here. I mean, you got to have tough skin. So just get ready for that. Don't take anything personally. Learn that lesson from lawyers because they don't. I mean, they're the best of buds when they get outside the courtroom. They do tend to respect professionals. If you are not professional, even if you're a lawyer, I mean, the worst lawyers do not garner respect of the better lawyers. There is a hierarchy in them. But the lawyers that operate on the higher level, even when they go in the courtroom, it's always amazing to me because you'll go into a courtroom and it may be, I mean, there's some of them that are small, there's some courtrooms that are this big, and it'll be row after row after row after row of attorneys sitting there side by side waiting on their cases to be called, and they're sitting there chit-chatting, but it'll be in groups. You want to be in the right group. The ones that come in with the shirt tail untucked are the ones that, you know, my hair's kind of glued down this morning from jail, but the ones that come in with it just straight slick back, look kind of maybe like, probably get dinged for this one, used car salesman. But you might want to avoid some of those. The ones that specialize in Chapter 13s and personal injury law, you don't normally get a lot of work out of them, and they'll be in that group that's in the back corner. You want to be in the group that's sitting on the first row or two. How many people have in the class have experience as an expert witness? Do you like it?
No.
Does anybody like it? Really? I do like it. I think it's a lot of fun. Doesn't pay real well, but
It's as much fun as you are prepared. You're prepared for all the questions that you can possibly think of.
y'all hear that?
And it can be fun.
And that is absolutely 100% the truth. It is as much fun as you are prepared. If you're prepared, it can be a whole lot of fun. If you're unprepared, it can be a miserable, miserable time because you are going to become the piece of meat between two pit bulls. And we're going to actually get to that in the last part of this presentation. I think there's some questions in here as far as direct and cross-examination statements and things that you may want to be asked. The key to that is never let an attorney put you in the courtroom that has not prepared you. Never let that happen. All right, let's look at a couple other websites and see what we have. We'll move along to the next slide. Pacer, I talked about Pacer. Here it is. Y'all bear with me. I'm gonna get out of. I'm gonna go to. Firefox. Go to Pacer. I just find that Firefox handles Pacer a little bit better and moves it along a little bit faster than the other one. All right, this is the Pacer homepage. You got something here called the Pacer Case Locator, frequently used links. Who can access Pacer? Pacer is available to anyone who registers for an account. How do I access? When can I access? What information is available? Is all case data available to the public? How much does Pacer cost? Let's look at how much Pacer costs. 8 cents a page, capped out at $2.40, which is a maximum of 30 pages. So if you download a bankruptcy schedule that's 200 pages long, you're only going to be billed $2.40 for it. By judicial conference policy, if your usage does not exceed $10 in a quarter, fees that are for that quarter are waived, and they're effectively making the service free to most users. Well, it should be. All public records should be, but they don't. It's not. So, but you can actually subscribe at that link that I showed you right up here with who can access Pacer. Let's take a look. And I'm going to carry you through what I typically do when I start researching a bankruptcy case. All right, this is every individual district. This is U.S. bankruptcy court. This is U.S. district courts. Let's scroll down to the Middle District of Georgia. Welcome to the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Middle District of Georgia. You will have to log in. When you log in, you're on this home page. You can do a query, you can do reports, you can do utilities, you can log yourself out. I'm going to do a query. All right, remember I told you that case number was important? Case number is the simplest way to look things up. In every one of my files, when I write the name at the tab, I typically will write the case number. It'll get you there faster than anything will, because you will find out, let's take and say that Melvin Jones filed a bankruptcy case. So we're going to look up Jones, Melvin. I was betting there was more than one, and lo and behold, there are. There's actually 5 Melvin Joneses. If you don't know which one is right, and see, it cost me 8 cents just to look at that to see there were 5 Melvin Joneses. If you don't know which one is right, and you start trying to look through them to figure out which one is right, and there's no real indication here, is it this Melvin Jones? No, this case was terminated in 2001. That's not the one I want. Is it this Melvin Jones? No. Well, it might be. Yep, this is my Melvin Jones. And I'm just making this up as I go, folks. I don't know Melvin Jones. I don't know anything about Melvin Jones' case. But I can look here and say the date of last filing was 3/10/2011. So that triggers in my mind that if I'm looking at a Melvin Jones case, chances are that's probably it. I can look right here and I can see who the trustee is. The trustee is Camille Hope out of Macon. But what I will typically do, because you'll actually get a much broader picture of it, is I'll go to the docket report. What is going on in this case? I want to know everything that's happening. There's my case number. Say run the report. I already know that Jim Smith's the attorney. Debtor's Melvin Jones. He's represented by Sharon Jones. of Milledgeville, the trustees, Camille Hope. Here's all their schedules. You go all the way down, and I will typically just hit the roller ball on my mouse and go to the bottom of the page, because you're gonna be most often looking for the most recent things. Once you get into a case, you're gonna be looking to see if you've been appointed. You're gonna be looking to see exactly what the standing is going on with you in that particular